One of our favorite institutional analysts, Dan Ives of Wedbush Securities, was on CNBC again. This time, not only bullish on Tesla as he always has been, but now even more amped up than ever before. He believes that Tesla right now is the most undervalued AI play in the market, and that the AI component in Tesla can be worth $1 to $2 trillion alone. He shares his thoughts on what will make the market finally wake up to the value in Tesla. Got Jeff Lutz with us, and he loves to evaluate institutional analysts. He loves it when he watches CNBC shows. All right, Jeff?
I do. Dan's really good at what he does, and we're kind of are wearing the opposite in clothing in terms of loudness. So
yeah.
But you have to listen what comes out of his mouth. That's what's important.
Well, okay. Well, Jeff is a multi-decade supply chain executive and chief quality officer for Fortune 100 companies. He's now running his own consulting firm. Thank you so much, Jeff. So let's start with Dan Ives. He is very colorful in his clothing, but more importantly, he's colorful in his language. And we love him. I do. I think that he sees Tesla better than other institutional analysts. The one thing that he was kind of bearish on Tesla recently was because he felt that Elon was kind of hurting Tesla and the way he communicates. But Elon just kicked it, blew it out of the park on the last earnings call. Let's watch a bit of his video.
Joining me now to make his case, Wedbush Securities Managing Director Dan Ives. Just like, we talk about these big pay packages, it's like $1 billion, and it really is that. But to the point, if Robo Taxi is the next big thing, do you think that this is the man who can lead Tesla to the future? And does Robo Taxi, is that the thing that's going to make Tesla regain its $1 trillion market cap?
Musk is Tesla, Tesla is Musk. And I think ultimately, right now, Tesla is the most undervalued AI play in the market. I mean, I believe the AI component of Tesla could be worth $1 to $2 trillion alone. And this, in my view, this is really the beginning of what is going to be just a massive stage of growth for Musk and Tesla. August 8th, in my opinion, will be a historical day for Tesla.
Okay, they unveil it August 8th. Any idea when production starts, when we would actually see robo-taxis on the road?
Look, I think over the next 18 months, I mean, this is something, we're not talking 3-4 years away. I think this is the start of what's going to be not just robo-taxis, but when you talk about full self-driving and autonomous, Tesla is an autonomous AI company. It does disruptive tech. And I think we will be looking at ultimately a stock that could potentially double over the next 12, 18 months.
All right, Jeff, let's pause there because he made a couple of big statements. First, he said that August 8th is going to be a historic day for Tesla, and that it'll happen sooner than we think. 18 months, that's when this will all happen. Is he being too bullish?
No, I don't think so. I think you will have the purpose-built robotaxi on the road at some level of scale. In 18 months, you're talking, at that point, early 2026, and I think it's a great estimate of kind of how things are lining up. The first statement, the statement around Tesla being the most undervalued AI play is to me very telling. First off, Dan is connected, I think, really well with retail. I think he's viewing the content. Tesla's one of he has several companies he's covering. He's on the road, but he's definitely looking at the content that's being developed on X and YouTube, the ones that are, I would say the content that's really getting into the details behind this and the whys and really unpacking it. He's following the company. And I think it's an important statement. And I want to put a kind of propose something out there, and I want to maybe discuss it with a few other experts, in the industry. But I actually think Tesla is executing more AI operations, via, think of the video in, the perception, the inference, and the control out in the vehicle, and every single decision that's being made to, raise, lower speed, move the vehicle, correct it. And I'd venture to say that there's more AI operations that are being executed, with this physical object, multi-ton object moving through the world than any other, chunk of AI that's out there. Now, it's going to be a difficult thing to measure, but I think it is measurable if you look at the chatbots and the language models. You even look at like the error rates of like, the information they put out, you put in and what it provides back to you versus, a Tesla vehicle and what's the interventions per mile and how much that's actually grown or, or reduced the way you want to calculate it. But I think Teslas execute more AI operations than maybe any AI application out there. And certainly there's two different things happening. You have these physical objects that are going to be call them these edge devices, with inference, capability physically moving throughout the world. They're going to start as vehicles, and then they're going to continue and grow into humanoids and other types of robots. And then you have the things that are language models that are stationary on computer devices that are localized, inference and edge computing, be it in your laptop or your phone. There's two different things happening. I think Tesla is clearly the leader in devices that are moving throughout the world, and maybe the leader overall. And I think that's an interesting metric to think about when you think about AI leadership. And you also need to answer the question of what is AI? Like, when people think of AI companies, NVIDIA immediately pops into people's minds. But I view NVIDIA as more as enabling versus, actual AI instructions that are being, executed upon. I think there's just two different things happening there. And it's just something to think about in terms of like, is AI the actual application of it and in the world that's making, useful applications for people and solving problems? Or is it kind of this picks and shovels mentality? But I would venture to guess that the work that Tesla is doing is probably volumetrically and more meaningfully greater than anything else. And therefore it should be considered a major AI player in the industry. And it doesn't really get that billing yet. And it's great to hear Dan out there talking about it.
Yeah, so we're going to watch more of the video, but he said that it's going to be $1 to $2 trillion alone, just the AI part of it. Okay. And he said the stock will double by next year. And then he said that the Robotaxi should be available by it's 18 months from now. So did they all line up? Not that it's going to be $1 to $2 trillion value by next year, but that, the stock will double by next year.
Markets, I mean, I can't predict what the stock is going to do, but markets do look ahead. And when you see this service, I believe on 8/8, we are going to see a prototype of the end-to-end solution. I believe we're going to see a phone get pulled out of a pocket, the app is opened, one button is pressed, and a vehicle is summoned. And I believe, if not on 8/8, then in the near future, there will also be Grok integration where you're going to get in this vehicle and you're going to have an experience. I think physically it's going to be an experience, but I also think from a software experience. Remember, we get in the vehicles today and they're kind of dormant. They're kind of not dumb, but they're waiting for you to press a mic button and then to say a keyword, and then it wakes up and then it does some level of compute and and then eventually you get a response. And I think I think with a properly engineered, both from a hardware perspective and a software perspective, language model, you're going to be getting real-time answers. You may be able to have a conversation in real time. I think it's going to be entertainment and informative on a different level than we've ever experienced. So I think that's the thing. That's the one more thing that's not getting discussed. It's difficult enough to develop a purpose-built Robotaxi, a thing that can move throughout the world, and to have the software experience, to have the inference compute, to have the training, and to have this thing actually work. And then you're going to have literally this brain shipping with each car that's going to be able to kind of think for itself eventually. And it's just going to be, it is going to be the Knight Rider experience, I believe, over a period of time. But I do believe you're going to see prototypes of this very soon. And I go back to, okay, so great. Let's say all of that happens. The next question you have to ask yourself is, who else could actually do that all in one product? And then what does it mean for Optimus if your car has a brain powered by a language model, powered by a supercomputer, and it can drive itself and move throughout the world, powered by local inference, powered by a supercomputer network, powered by great hardware engineering. Well, then what can Optimus, do? So now you're going to see the groundwork for how all this actually could work together. And you have to, when you think about stocks, you think about investing, you have to think about, is there a market for this? What are people willing to pay for it? And then the next question you have to ask yourself, if that is high and is a huge TAM, as ARC and other companies have said there is, then you have to ask you, the next question is, who else can do it and by when? Those are the interesting conversation to have.
You just blew my mind, Jeff, because, okay, so I thought, right, speaking to your phone, your Siri, you've seen bots doing these demos, right? Very, speaking to OpenAI and coming back to you. So I thought it's already been done. But actually, the difference between Tesla and all the other examples is that latency that you're talking about, because Tesla has the inference chip, very powerful inference chip right in the car. Mm-hmm. And so it could theoretically, if they did it right, like you said, immediate answers, immediate feedback, versus like only Apple could do it because they have that powerful M1 chip in their phones. But everyone else, they have to go out to the internet, grab the answer, and there's always that little delay. So that would be really cool. Now that you said that, I started realizing, my God, this could actually be a ChatGPT moment. It could be the moment that people are like going viral, going, look at this. You could talk to your car. You can establish a relationship. You, I think, sent a tweet a long time ago about Kit, the car, and then Elon replied to you, and you had a little back and forth. So I prepared here a little bit of Kit, the car. So let's take a look at this.
All these weird gadgets. You think they'd give you a radio?
What would you like to hear?
What the hell was that?
Do you wish further information on Silicon Valley?
Hell no, I want to know who you are and how you're listening in.
There's no reason for increased volume. I am scanning your interrogatives quite satisfactorily. I am the voice of Night Industry 2000's microprocessor. KITT for easy reference. A KIT if you prefer.
No, I don't prefer. And what's more, I don't intend to drive around in a car that talks back to me. So either Devin pulls your plug, or you get yourself another driver.
I am not qualified to overrule your wishes.
Well, that's real good to hear, Kit. Because I don't want to hear another peep out of you until I can get a call off the Devins. So clam up. I'm going to listen to some good music, and don't offer any suggestions. I'll choose my own.
As you wish, Mr. Knight. But since you are still recovering from your ordeal, and I detect we're in a slightly irritable mood caused by fatigue, may I suggest you put the car in the auto cruise mode for safety's sake?
No, you may not.
Wow, is that a great clip?
It's coming.
Could it be like that?
Yeah, it's coming. The latency is a big thing, and that's what you solve through vertically integrated engineering, where you've got the full. You hear Elon talk. He said this last week about having the full stack and owning that full stack and capability. This is how you knock out cost. This is how you eliminate it. This is how you knock out the latency and eliminate it from ever happening. This is how you're able to system engineer all this to work together. And I believe that we will be experiencing that, over some period of time, again, in various releases. But Tesla's going to have a differentiated solution on many levels.
Yeah, let's watch the
Line today from CNBC.com's Laura Khatiwada. According to internal memos, Tesla's workforce has shrunk by 14% since Elon Musk announced layoffs back in April. In December, Tesla employed a little more than 140,000 people worldwide. Today, it's 121,000. What do the layoffs mean to you in terms of resources aimed at growth and cost efficiency?
Yeah, well, they've had to rip the Band-Aid off because we've seen softer demand globally, especially in China. That's the hearts and lungs of the Tesla story. But I think they have been proactive. And even though we're not expecting fireworks for the June quarter, this will pay dividends. It's what Musk and Tesla have needed to do. An adult needed to be in the room, and Musk stepped up. And I believe right now, when we look at the Tesla story, they've gone through some Category 5 hurricane. But I think on the other side of this now is going to be that Cinderella story will return to Tesla, and I think AI is going to be the key.
There was a lot of hype over Cybertruck when the launch happened, when it rolled out off of the production floor. Do you think expectations and the hype around Tesla itself make the rollout of Robotaxi problematic?
I think you're going to have a brighter spotlight like we see with Musk and Tesla, but from a core technology perspective, I believe this is really going to be the start of what's going to be a renaissance of growth for Tesla, not just on autonomous, but even on a demand perspective.
Meanwhile, you've got like Ferrari moving into the EV space. The company's offering a posh new electric vehicle sports car that comes at a price tag of, I'm going to choke on this too, $500,000, set to be released next year. CNBC's Robert Frank sat down with Ferrari CEO Benedetto Vigna and says, well, here's what he said about the car and the demand for EVs.
The final judge will be the client, but I can tell you that several people, more people start to see, to try our electric Ferrari, and they have a good feeling. I believe that in the future, we will have clients that today are buying our cars, that they will switch to electric.
Will they?
I think they will. And I think what this does, when you have a brand like Ferrari making a bet like this, it shows where the world's heading. And I think they're hedging their bets. In my opinion, Ferrari, it's the gold standard. And this is an important, something that a few years ago, never thought that you'd see this headline.
Yeah, shouldn't be compared to Ferrari, $500,000. But yeah, great. What's your thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, no, I do believe it's validation of where the market is going. Consumers want this. And adoption curves of anything, when you make a major transition, we saw this from going from regular phones to smartphones and so forth. It doesn't just go up and to the right in a straight line. There's periods of adoption where there's stalls. There could be things happening macroeconomically. There could be technology transitions that people are waiting for, or there could be something happening with the purchasing cycle that elongates it. For example, in mobile phones, they were being made better to last longer, both from a software and hardware perspective. And same thing's happening with vehicles. The average age, I think, is over 12 years now for a vehicle in the U.S. And they're being produced better, with better quality, better reliability, and people. And then you have the macroeconomic conditions. Right now, I think there's 1 in 6 loans are being rejected right now in the U.S. Not only are the loans at a high rate, but there's a high rejection rate as well, and that could be 1 in 6 people trying to buy a Tesla as well. So when you put all those factors together, those really are kind of point back to like what are purchase intent and decisions. But all of these auto companies are kicking off. They're saying that they're kicking off very serious EV efforts, or they're already underway. For them, there's a gap between saying we have this effort, going to your shareholder base and saying we're doing it, and then there's the execution piece of like, can we do this profitably at scale? And so far, that's where most companies, including the Chinese, by the way, most of the Chinese companies right now are not profitable. It's hard to really understand their true balance sheet and like what's happening, but most of them are still kind of struggling to do this profitably. So they have a hybrid business, and they still have a gas powered business, many of them as well, and they kind of see all the data together. So yes, I think it's validation for the space, but there's a gap between saying you're doing something and then being able to do it profitably at scale. But what's different from the promises from 3 to 5 years ago versus today, there's been greater modularization. The cost per kilowatt hour of a battery, the biggest item from a cost value in the vehicle, has literally been cut in half, and I think it will be cut in half again. And that's going to help lower the bar for entry. But then you're still going to have to overcome these things of designing a proper powertrain with great efficiency. And then by the time that's actually happening, I think the car industry is going to change. There's going to be a before and after. There's going to be the vehicles that are autonomous, driving off the lot, and then there's going to be everything else. And I think that's just going to start a new age in terms of vehicles. And I think Tesla is going to be at the forefront of that.
Yeah, he said something for the first time I've heard anybody say, but you and I have been saying it, which is when autonomy comes, or even some version of it, the sales of the vehicles of Tesla will increase. So people are still thinking we need to wait till the more affordable cars come in before they open up a new segment. I'm saying no. I think you could take the Model 3, Model Y will just jump in value, jump in sales because there's additional value. Like you can talk to your car, that you can, have the car have some autonomous, even if it's not yet Robotaxi. Any quick comment on that one, Joe?
No, I agree. I think the value of the vehicle increases it's significantly as this occurs. So it maybe not a knife switch, but it's something that happens pretty rapidly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jeff. Follow him on X, the Jeff Lutz. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks, everyone.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.